The conference starts at 9 a.m. I went to the conference hall at 7 a.m. I sat in the queue for 2 hours
Wow.
and I went inside.
If you're new to the channel, we release podcasts every single week on this channel. So this is a small clip from the long form podcast. And if you're interested in watching that long form podcast, link is in the description. I hope you find this clip very valuable. One of the reason, like you mentioned as well, and one of the things that I've heard a lot before, even when I've done podcasts with other people who have gotten jobs and internships through GSC, is that true? Like a lot of it is a recruiting event, and do people do end up getting a job offer or an internship offer from that conference?
I saw that question coming sometime. So it's case by case, I would say. So for me, it was true.
Hmm.
The current job I'm working in is actually a job that I got at GHC. So Barclays was hiring in bulk because they wanted to ramp up and get their male female ratio to 50-50, and they were hiring a lot of
Wow.
women there. And that's how I ended up. And they had a lot of roles like infrastructure engineer, data scientist, data analyst, software engineer, etc. And I was particularly interested in the infrastructure engineer role, which nobody wanted because it sounded very boring. So I kind
I'm curious to know more about that role, but continue. Yeah.
yeah. So I interviewed for that position at Barclays booth on spot. There were like senior leaders from Barclays interviewing people there, and initially I went there. I stood in the queue, uh, and then I was cut off, and they asked me to come the next day because the queue was so long and they had to end the
Hmm.
interviews. I went like at around 5, which was end of day, so they just had to ask me to come next day. And the next
Hmm.
day morning, the conference starts at 9 a.m. I went to the conference hall at 7 a.m. I sat in the queue for 2 hours
Wow.
and I went inside, and still I was the third person in the queue at 9 a.m. That was,
Wow.
yeah, it was an adventure. And when I went there, I was like greeted so beautifully. Like, I love my leaders at Barclays. They are like amazing women,
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
leaders. So I was greeted by them, and they asked me what role I want, and they had interviewed me for
That
that
is so
role.
cool. Like they are like, all right, we have five roles. Which one are you interested in? That is so awesome. But cool.
Yeah. So
You
they
obviously
take a
mentioned
look at you. They
infrastructure.
just took a look at my resume, and they were like, "What role are you interested in?" And then they called the SMEs for that role, and
Mm,
I just got interviewed by them. There were two rounds. One was a technical round where they asked questions about like that were related to the role, as well as the questions about tech stuff from my resume. And there were questions about values, leadership skills, teamwork skills.
mm,
So it was called
mm,
mindset and values round. So that round was the first round I had, and then I had a tech round.
mm.
And
Okay,
between,
so there were two rounds for you.
yes,
Okay.
so initially when I went there, they took I think they took the mindset and values round, but they were also
Mm,
asking me like technical questions in between, like what's the difference between like this and this, what's the difference between a SQL and NoSQL deep database, and like basic
basic.
infra
Yeah.
questions like
Yeah.
that. And in the second round, it was totally about my resume and what projects I've done, and also about why I want to work in the company, like why do I want to work for a bank.
Mm,
So make sure when you go to these interviews, when you're standing in the queue, you learn about the company, learn about their culture and values before you go
mm,
there. And there was like a 3-4 hour gap between the two interviews. So first interview,
mm.
when they told me to come back, okay, I knew I passed the first interview, so I was relieved. But there was a 4-hour gap to the second interview, and I was just sitting there between like chaos and like trying to focus and study stuff from a
Right.
resume.
Yeah. And did they tell you like what the second round is going to be about? So you went, they did the first round, they looked at your resume, they started like doing the first like basic round of you knowing you a little bit and mindset round, etc. And then they said like, all right, come back after 4 hours, and this is gonna be your second round. We're gonna talk up, like we're gonna ask you technical question. Like, did they give you any hint like what the second round is? Did they tell you exactly when to come back, or was it just like you were just waiting and hoping that they will call you?
They told me when to come back exactly. It
Okay.
was just because one of the interviewers went to give a talk and he had to come back.
Mm.
So I just had to wait for him. My case was different. Like I had someone who got selected for the same role, like one of my friends. And I kind of asked her how the interview went and what was the interview structure and everything. Just was being proactive even before the interview happened. Uh,
Mm.
so I was kind of aware of what was coming for me in the second interview.
Mm.
Yeah.
Your Barclay story. So you had to know that they were hiring, and you had to prepare for as like you probably went way ahead and prepared for it, like not during the conference. Like someone can't just wake up and go. Someone would have to prepare their resume and interviews and all of that before even they went. So what kind of preparation did you do before you went to the conference?
Before I answer this question, I'll tell you one thing. Uh,
Mm.
I got to know that Barclays is interviewing on spot at the conference in person only after
Mm.
I went to the conference because I
Okay.
was just talking to a group of people while I was taking a break at the conference, and they told me that Barclays was hiring on spot. So I was like, I ran to the place and I want to give the interview. But before
Right.
that, usually everyone that goes to GHC is
Mm.
prepared. Like they are prepared to the core.
Mm.
Um, I did a lot of research, did a lot of YouTubing, Googling, connecting to different people on LinkedIn, all of that. So part of my journey was prepping my LinkedIn. I was
Mm.
posting stuff about GHC that I posted post saying that I will be attending GHC. So whoever else is attending GHC can like see that I am attending. Maybe they'll
Mm.
offer me an interview, kind of a thing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I used hashtags like hashtag GHC 2023,
Yeah.
2022,
Yeah.
hashtag VGHC, V for virtual, VGHC
Mm.
2022, and stuff like
Mm.
that. And you just post. So others who are going to GHC will reach out to you
Mm.
and say hi. Or if there's a recruiter that's noticing you, then you might be in luck as well. So I
Mm.
made a post on LinkedIn. And then I also prepped my LinkedIn, like with all, I just made sure that all the descriptions that were there in my LinkedIn were accurate. And I
Mm.
posted all my projects. I also
Mm.
created a portfolio to make it
Mm.
easy for me to reach out to recruiters. Um, I just posted a portfolio of myself with a resume and all the projects I've done and everything.
Is that live right now?
I guess so. It's been a while since I saw it, but I'm using github.io to host it, so it must be live.
Oh wow, look at that. Nice. I am excited to read this one. But yeah, cool. So that's you worked on this portfolio. I just wanted to show people like, and then obviously people will. I'll put your LinkedIn so people can connect with you. But you worked on this. You started prepping your LinkedIn. You started posting it. Did that kind of work? Like, did anyone reach out to you? Not necessarily recruiter, but maybe other people who are attending.
Yes, so before I went to the GHC, when you register for GHC, you have access to the GHC portal and all the jobs that are listed under GHC. And there
Mm.
is something called GHC resume database. It's highly recommended that you post your resume like as early as possible after you register for this conference, because recruiters are going to look up through the database and they're going to select some candidates and then offer them an interview in person at GHC as well.
Mm.
So usually, very rare cases, they have like on spot interviews. Like Barclays was very generous last year. They were hiring so many people, and they had the requirement because they were scaling up. And
Mm.
that might not be the case every year, right? So
Mm.
how usually things work is interviews are even scheduled even before the conference happens.
Mm.
So I had two other interviews that was scheduled before the conference. So one was from analog devices. There was an ML engineer position that was posted in the GHC portal,
Yeah.
and I saw the recruiter's name under
Mm.
that job listing. I had applied for
Yeah.
it, but still, I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I
Mm.
posted a message saying that I've applied for this role. Here's my portfolio. I'm very much interested, and I see that my skills fit this job and everything. And then she instantly texted me back saying that 4:30 p.m. to 5, 2:30 to 3. Which slot do you want to take? So I was like, wow, this is the power. Like, it's all incremental effort. Like,
Right.
uh, I
Right.
had my resume to just like get the interview and
Mm.
everything. So that
Mm.
kind of lifted my confidence to like reach out to people more
Mm.
effectively.
If you enjoyed this clip of the podcast, I'm pretty sure you want to watch the entire podcast, which is linked here, or you might want to watch other relevant clips right here.